Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the Underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The Underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the Underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Why am I not in the intro? I gotta come up with a snappy line.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Underworld podcast, your weekly source for all the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion. And this week, after spending the last two shows dissecting visions, we've got a lot of news to catch up on. We're talking Star Wars Starfighter. We're talking The Mandalorian and Grogu. We're talking the end of an era in Star Wars publishing. Plus, we will get to some of your burning questions in another classic edition of Ask the SWU. All this and so much more. It's going to be a great show. First, though, introductions are in order in case you're new to the show or you've forgotten who we are. That can happen. My name is Dominic Jones, and with me, as always, he's the founder of the Star Wars Underworld. It's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? Good to be back. And I know we got a lot of news to discuss this week, tonight. Quite a few things. Quite some interesting things, I think. I know it hasn't been like a huge news week, but, you know, some interesting things I'm really eager to think. But none of them, they all pale in comparison to what I'm about to tell you. This is just breaking news that just came in.
Oh,
the Hunt for Ben Solo petition, as of literally 2 minutes ago, has achieved 6,000 signatures.
There you
Give
go.
yourselves a round of applause. We did it.
There you go.
That was the threshold.
We did it,
Disney
Joe.
said if we got 6,000, they would greenlight it. So here we go. This is it. We did it, guys.
I mean, look at it. Everybody who signed that petition is going to see that movie at least twice, even if they didn't like it the first time. So
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you think, 6,000 signatures. What's that? Well, it's at least 12,000 tickets. I'd sell, if someone wanted to sell 12,000 tickets to see this show or this podcast, I'd go for it. I'd show up.
And have you seen the price of movie tickets these days? Come on, that's a lot of money.
It's true. It's true. And you know, some of those will be in IMAX. Some of those will be in 3D. We're doing your job for you, Bob, as we so often do. What do you think the actual likelihood is that anything comes of this? Like, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here, but like, we've talked a lot about this story for weeks and weeks on end, and we have no plans to stop talking about it because I mean, we got a good selection of news coming up, but it is far and away the most interesting thing happening in Star Wars, and is the most interesting thing to happen to Star Wars in quite some time. But what are the odds that it actually results in anything? What are the odds that Adam Driver is back in the cowl or just shirtless in front of the camera again, playing Ben Solo in, let's say, the next 5 years? Let's give it a half decade.
Yeah, I mean, I've asked, as the guy who started that stupid petition, I've asked myself that question quite a bit of just like, and a lot of people will, there's a lot of Debbie Downers out there, not like you, but like legit Debbie Downers. I'm just like, 5,000, 6,000 signatures. That's nothing. They won't do anything. And I'm just like, yeah, I know they aren't legally. This isn't a legal binding document. It's just a thing.
It's not like the
for
one
all of us to get together and go like, hey, there's 6,000 of us. We want this.
Remember the White House used to have a thing where you could make a petition on their website,
Yeah,
and if you got to a certain level, they were obligated to reply. And some idiot started a petition that was, begin construction of a Death Star, and it crossed that threshold. And the it was the Obama administration actually had to reply to it. And to their credit, they put out like a funny statement. It was, if you asked Trump to do it, he'd be like, "We're beginning tomorrow. We're co-opting Geonosis. We're gonna begin. It's gonna be terrific, and Mexico's gonna pay for it." But like, it's not like that. It's not like there's no obligation. That Disney doesn't have the same program where if you get 10,000 signatures, Mickey Mouse and Bob Iger have to release a joint statement.
No, and as easy as it sounds, it's been through all these reports, like, oh, there was this movie, there was a script, there was writers, they had the lead actor on, like this thing was ready to go, seemingly ready to shoot, like they were getting set up to shoot this thing, and Disney said no, and they had to trash it. You would think hypothetically that like, oh, well, they could just get everyone back and do it. And like, if you've done any looking into like how movies are made, how any movie is made, like it's very hard. And like the stars really have to align. And you can imagine like this has been a few years ago and things have happened, and the creative team that was behind this have gone their separate ways or doing other projects. It's hard to get them back. So like the likelihood of them actually green lighting the Hunt for Ben Solo, probably less than 50% chance, like, way down the line. I don't want to say it's none. I feel like there's a chance that could happen. What I'm betting on right now is the idea that maybe if the Hunt for Ben Solo isn't greenlit, something else will come out of this. I think these fan campaigns can have an effect greater than we can imagine in regards to like showing support for something and saying, hey, things, and like 6,000 people that are willing to like go sign up online petition. You can imagine how many people that are just casually would want to see this movie on top of that. And I think there's a lot of narratives online about like, well, nobody likes sequel trilogy. Nobody likes Ben Solo. Well, I have 6,000 people that beg to differ. And I think realistically, perhaps we'll get a Ben Solo cameo in something, or maybe thing along the lines. We know the Rey movie is coming, all this kind of stuff. I think something along those lines that can kind of lay the groundwork for something, or having him be a part of the story going forward. Just having Adam Driver be out there going like, hey, I'll do another Star Wars movie. That's the door is open for like something to happen, whether it's this script or something else down the line. So I think I have very high hopes that something to do with Ben Solo will happen in the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm. And you bring up a good point, right? Because the Rey movie is happening come hell or high water. I think is the attitude over there at Lucasfilm to get that movie made. And when you think about like the defining relationships in Rey's life, it's Luke, it's Finn, it's Poe, and really, top of that list or number 2 behind Finn or sharing the top spot with Finn, it's probably Ben Solo, or it is Ben Solo. And it would be odd for that character to not play any role in the story, whether he comes back to life or not, but that the character in the relationship, his presence must be felt in that movie in some way or another. Just in the same way that just in that it's carrying on this character's story, it's carrying on this character's journey, and he was such a big part of it before that. Yeah, right. I don't know. It feels like it must happen. Anyway, moving right along. Let's get into our plugs here. Before we talk too much more about the news. As always, we want to remind you to punch the subscribe button, Chewy. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, subscribe on Spotify, subscribe wherever you get your shows. And make sure you leave a review if you're listening on a platform that allows you to do that. If you like the show and you want to support it financially, you can super chat with us during the live shows. That guarantees you access to our Ask the SWU segment at the end of the show, and you can become a channel member. Again, there's not really like a benefit to becoming a channel member. It's just sort of like a tip jar. If you like the show and you think we deserve some encouragement to keep going in between shows, join the Discord, keep the discussion going. All sorts of fun things happening there. Ben and Joel keep things lively. And make sure you're following us on social media. We're at the SWU pretty much everywhere. Okay, let's get into things. Where do we want to start? I think the story that intrigued me the most this week is not Starfighter. We will get to Starfighter. But it's actually an interview that Sigourney Weaver did with Empire Magazine, where she talks a little bit about The Mandalorian and Grogu and what it says about Lucasfilm's current approach to making new Star Wars movies. Normally, these actor interviews, especially this far out from a movie, don't really tell us much, but I think this one has some interesting insight. So this is what she says. She says, what's interesting about Star Wars now is that they're no longer trying to do the Star Wars to end all Star Wars. They're letting the universe exist and telling really interesting stories within that. So, no longer making the Star Wars to end all Star Wars. I think we saw them try to do that with The Rise of Skywalker. And your mileage may vary on how well they did with that. And I think they've been struggling ever since then to try and figure out what to do if they're not doing the sequel trilogy or the sequel trilogy where the whole galaxy is at stake, and how they go about telling those stories or telling interesting stories in the Star Wars universe that aren't the biggest, grandest scale, that are maybe more personal. They're still epic. They're still action adventure, but they're not, world-shattering, world-ending stories. And I think that tells us something about what we can expect from Mando Grogu in particular, but also Starfighter, and also these other movies that we know are in development that might be a little bit scaled back from what we're used to. There might not be the big, epic, grand space battles. It might be more personal showdowns. I don't know. What do you think of this, Ben? What do you think of this quote and this notion of, not trying to do the Star Wars to end all Star Wars anymore?
Yeah, it's funny how we're getting this from Sigourney Weaver, this legend of sci-fi that's come in and has, probably has the perspective on, like, she's seen a lot of this stuff. She's been around Hollywood, has been in a lot of these sci-fi universes, knows how the sausage is made, as they say. And it is interesting how, because you see all these cinematic universes, whether it's Star Wars, whether it's Marvel, now you see everything is trying to be a cinematic universe, and towing that line of, this latest thing, this movie, this TV show, whatever, this is the biggest thing. You do not want to miss this. You cannot miss it. It's huge. It's huge. It's galaxy shattering. And then also be completely approachable and say, well, if you missed the last one, you can come and see this one. And you can watch this thing and you don't have to worry about watching the other things. And being approachable for the average Joe, but to get the nerds all riled up to make sure things. And that's the kind of the marketing ploy was for Rise of Skywalker, of like, this is huge. This is the end of the saga, as they said. I think, as you said, mileage may vary, because I think people see through this stuff at this point. We all know cynically that none of these franchises are ever going to end, ever. Like, it's just going to keep going on and on and on. I don't care if you kill off James Bond. I don't care if you say twice in a row, this is Harrison Ford's last Indiana Jones movie. Like, we know these characters are coming back. We know at some point things. So I think I'm glad that Lucasfilm was taking this approach. I hope what Sigourney Weaver's saying is accurate, because I think that is the right way to approach this. I think going you still can have things stand on its own. And I don't know, you look at Andor. Like, Andor is not the show. It's like, oh, this is going to upend everything. It's going to change everything. And we can't fathom how it's going to end. We knew how it was going to end. Tony Gilroy spoiled the thing from the beginning. Like, we knew where it was all going. That didn't remove the stakes. That didn't ruin it for anyone. It was just as impactful, more impactful, that we knew where it was going. And Andor leaned into that. His final scene is just like, hey, hint, hint, we're going to Rogue One now. Come with us. I think that's the right way to go. I think stop with the saga's ending, the legacy lives on, or whatever the tagline was for Rise of Skywalker. Because it was, and it's like, you had the same thing with Marvel. Marvel was just like, Endgame. The name of the movie is Endgame. That means the end, right? No, there's a movie, Spider-Man No Way Home is coming out in a few months. Like, whatever. These things, they will never die. So just like embrace that and let's do some lighter stuff. Let's just not pretend. Let's treat the audience like they're smart, which they are.
Yeah. Andor, I think, is kind of the ultimate example of this, right? Where they went, we're just going to tell a story in the Star Wars galaxy. We're not looking to wow you with our sort of spectacle. We just have what we think is a good story. And then there winds up being a lot of spectacle in that, but the spectacle feels impactful and important because you're invested in the story, which is how this stuff is supposed to work. And I compare that and the response to Andor to Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is a show that I really like. I really, really like. But they went into that pitching it as the rematch of the century between Anakin and Obi-Wan, Vader, Obi-Wan. And they set the bar like impossibly high for themselves. And you're left to wonder, what would an Obi-Wan Kenobi show be like if it didn't have to do that, if it could just be an Obi-Wan show. It didn't have to somehow live up to this insane expectations. Now, with Obi-Wan, the character, kind of the most interesting thing and the only interesting thing you can do with him at that point in time is put him in the same room as Anakin again and find out what happens. So they're kind of hamstrung by that. But you look at the way it was sold to the audience, you look at the way they approach telling the story, and it's hard to argue that anything in Star Wars, certainly since Disney has taken over, has been as successful from a creative standpoint as Andor. And we've seen, how that then leads to, people who aren't normally Star Wars fans are drawn into it because they're not just selling us on, hey, wow, we're one-upping ourselves from before. They're going, no, here's just a good story. Here's just a good, interesting idea. And I think they're taking that mentality, the mentality from the shows, from what they experienced with Andor and the success there, and applying it to the movies now. It's no longer, as we said, it's no longer about having a galaxy ending threat. It's not the Emperor's come back. We don't have a First Order. We don't have a Snoke. None of that is what's happening. It's just Starfighter is going to be the story of Ryan Gosling and this kid and their adventure and what happens there. And presumably they're doing this movie because Sean Levy sold them on a really interesting idea for those characters, and it's not going to change the galaxy what happens to these two, but it's just going to be a fun ride for us as the audience. And I think honestly, I know we're going into Mando Grogu looking ahead at the larger Mandoverse implications and all that stuff. I kind of at this moment, I'm kind of looking at this movie and going, they may not even mention Thrawn. They may not even mention this sort of larger plot that's going on. That seems to have shifted to being the focus in Ahsoka. I think this movie is just going to be a bonkers ride with Din and Grogu. I think those two are just going to go on adventures or one sort of big winding journey of an adventure that will take them through all sorts of crazy underworld situations. And if we go in just expecting it to be a fun romp like that, I think we'll get a lot out of it. And I think we'll really, really, really enjoy it. I think if people go in looking for clues about Thrawn, clues about the world between worlds, clues about, what's going on, you might be disappointed. I think that stuff is going to be saved for Ahsoka. I think the main story of the Mandoverse maybe should be called the Ahsoka verse, because it's being shifted to that part of the story. It feels like Din Djarin's role in setting that part of the story up is kind of over. I think he'll play a role in the finale of it, to be sure. But now that he's kind of gone on his adventure, that sets up that part. Now we can just do a freaking weird one where he can team up with Jabba the Hutt's son and fight gladiators and stuff, and take out Imperial walkers on cliff sides with his jetpack or whatever's going on in that scene. I think it's just going to be. I just think we need to be ready for this movie to have nothing to do with anything and just be silly fun.
And I mean, that would be ultimately the smart move from a business for talking about business side of things, for like looking at Disney executives, whatever else. Yeah, exactly. Money. You want something with broad appeal. That's what most anyone making a movie is just like, I want everyone to see this. I want everyone to enjoy this movie and get something out of it and not be confused by it. And I think with this, obviously you're going to have a huge fan base of people that watch the show, because The Mandalorian was a massive, massive show. But also there's going to be, there's going to be kids. There's going to be kids that were born after season 3 that are going to be taken. They're not going to be very old, but like they'll be watching The Mandalorian for the first time, or maybe they haven't seen the show, and they're going to be having a new experience. I think throwing a bunch of Easter eggs at their face, like, oh, here's Thrawn, here's this, here's that, like, it's not going to land with everyone. It'll be fine if it's done the right way, but I think you don't necessarily need that. And I think they want something. I think they see this as a reset point. I think there's a reason why there was an Iris out on season 3. I think that was the end of that story.
Mm-hmm.
That 3-season story is over and done with. Now we're starting over with something new. And they clearly wanted to, for better or worse, reset those characters to a place where they were closer to where they were in season 1. So now we're getting that. And I think we're not going to see, I don't even know if we're going to see Navarro much. I don't know if you're going to IG-11, all these things, whatever else. I think it's going to be a completely new story, completely new characters. And I think we're going to move forward, and, maybe Thrawn will show up, maybe he won't. But I think they're going to want to bring in as many new people as possible and not rock the boat. You do that in the second movie. We're stabilizing, proving that Mando Grogu are box office smashes, as they say, and then you move forward with the new stuff.
I'm just going to be so fascinated to see what the response to this movie is, because I think there almost could be a very distinct, like, 2 tracks of response. There will be the sort of diehard hardcore fans like us who have been following this from the beginning, who are looking for tie-ins with the larger New Republic, Thrawn saga, trilogy, storyline, whatever you want to call this thing. And if the movie doesn't have that, I wonder if people will be disappointed. On the other hand, where The Mandalorian started to lose people as a show, where it started to lose the general audience as a show, was when it got a little too caught up in universe mumbo jumbo. The whole reclamation of Mandalore plotline of season 3, while that's where I wanted it to go, I think it got a little too in the weeds. I think we were looking a little too far up our own belly buttons with that storyline, that it lost some folks. It also doesn't help that the way it was told in season 3, I think was not up to par with the previous 2 seasons. And so I think what this movie's goal now is to get back to where it was with seasons 1 and 2, where Mandalorian was just a show that anybody could enjoy. That if you just have a sort of passing understanding of what Star Wars is, you'll sit down and go, wow, that was awesome. And that's why the trailer is what it is, I think. It's trying to just remind people of like, hey, you liked it when the Mandalorian fought people and did cool things. So here's some shots of him fighting people and doing cool things. I think the Celebration trailer was actually even better at doing that than the trailer that we got, because it began with that, continuous take action sequence that is like just so much cooler than anything else that's in the officially released trailer. So I think that's what this movie's actually trying to do. And those of us who are looking for the like advancement of the Thrawn storyline and this and that, that's coming in Ahsoka season 2, right? Like that's coming later in the year. And we know that like the big events from the show, just going off of what, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have said, that like the big events of that era are kind of going to be in the show. Like the war where Grand Admiral Thrawn and Admiral Akbar are like opposing commanders, that's happening in season 2 of Ahsoka. That's not happening in The Mandalorian and Grogu. The Mandalorian and Grogu, all they've promised us is Jabba the Hutt's son is a gladiator and Din Djarin will go on an adventure with him, presumably. Like that's the implication of that trailer. They're not promising anything else from what they've said about, and everything they've said about the movie suggests the movie will be nothing more than that. You look back at the Celebration panel, you look at anything anybody has said, that's all they're promising. You look at what they said about Ahsoka season 2, again, go back to Celebration. What did they say about season 2 of Ahsoka? That's where they were talking about the big picture stuff. And that's, I think, is what's being set up for when Dave Filoni eventually makes his movie in a couple years. It will probably, that's where, if you want, a big epic, Star Wars, standall Star Wars, you're probably still going to get it in, let's be honest, we'll call it Heir to the Empire.
Right. Yeah, I think it's safe.
All right.
It's a safe bet at this point.
Yeah. All right, sticking with the Mandalorian and Grogu just for a minute, we got some minor official confirmations of stuff from the aforementioned trailer. We learned some character names. Some of this has been out there, but some of it is new. Sigourney Weaver's character is named Colonel Ward, New Republic Colonel Ward. This alien that you see kind of coming out of the water at one point in the trailer is an Amani. Now, Ben's Connection Corner, real quick. Ben, remind us where we know Amani's from.
Amani's, I believe, were in Return of the Jedi. I think they're a Jabba's palace thing, or I could be completely wrong. I know what I do know for sure is that there is if anybody that remembers watching the Crystal Crisis arc of the Clone Wars, which is the unfinished arc of the Clone Wars, where Anakin and Obi-Wan had this big adventure on Utapau, they end up either fighting or befriending a bunch of these dudes. Like, I think the general idea is that the Powans live below the surface, and these dudes lived on the surface of Utapau. Don't know if that's canon because obviously unfinished Clone Wars episode, but nonetheless, they've been a part of Star Wars lore for like a very long time.
Unfinished Clone Wars episode is canon to me. Damn it. That's what I'm going with. And finally, Grogu's Anzellan friends, who have been weirdly the star of all of the marketing for this movie, because that's what everybody wants is more Anzellans. Hey, Anzellans are fun. I like the Anzellans. No hate to the Anzellans or to Babu Frick himself. But no, Babu Frick is not one of them. The Anzellans in the trailer, their names are Bai, Clang, and Keto. That is the most, Ben, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that is the most redneck sounding group of Anzellans I've ever heard of. Hey, we got Bai, Kang, and Cleto coming around here to fix the droids.
You're not wrong, but I'm shocked and surprised and pleasantly shocked that we have a Jon Favreau Star Wars movie and he actually named some of the characters. It's not Anzellan 1, 2, and 3. they actually have names. And when they get action figures, inevitably we will actually be able to put, and it's just not just Mithril or Frog Lady or whatever else that they come up with. Good Lord,
Mithril Mithril is the weirdest one, because that's the species, but everybody just calls him by the species. They don't call him by his name. It'd be like me, instead of me saying, "Hey Ben, come over here," it'd be like, "Hey American, come over here." Like,
right, exactly.
What?
Or hey human person.
Yeah. Hey human person. man, woman, camera, TV. It's odd, but hey, Jon Favreau, he's improving in what may be his last major Star Wars project.
Already good sign for Mando and Grogu. We're making progress, Favreau.
Moving our way through. All right, let's shift to Starfighter now. Starfighter, they've Sean Levy, director of the movie, he released a new behind the scenes picture to celebrate his own birthday. Which or no, not to celebrate his birthday, to celebrate Ryan Gosling's birthday.
This is Ryan Gosling's birthday. It was yesterday.
Yes. Yeah. Ryan Gosling's birthday. He posted a new
picture. You
picture.
can celebrate your own birthday if he wanted to.
This is true. He posted another picture from the location shoot that they did to kick off the movie, where they were out in the water. It's not all that different from that first picture from the first day of set. You got Ryan Gosling in his costume, wearing that hat that says "Never Tell Me the Odds," and Levy's joined him wearing a life preserver, a straw hat, and a cool bandana. And he puts the caption. He says, "Everything about this pic makes me feel deeply uncool. The hat and the life preserver, but happiest of birthdays to the coolest dude in any galaxy." Of course, being Ryan Gosling. Cool. Pretty good stuff. Levy's also been doing a lot of interviews lately, because the new season of Stranger Things is coming out, and he was involved in that show at various points, directing episodes across the series' run. So he's been giving lots of updates about the movie, one of which is that it is about halfway done filming, which means that presumably it will be done either end of this year or very early next year. And remember, this movie doesn't come out until May 2027. Like, this is operating, this movie is operating on a timeline where you would think it was coming out December 2026, right? Like, if you look at the way The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Rogue One, all those movies were shot, the timelines they were shot on, this is closer to that, for looking like a December release, but they're just pretty well locked into that general May 2027 slot.
Yeah. Or just general Hollywood these days, which is like, let's start filming the movie with like less than a year, until the release day, without a finished script. And then let's push it back because we realize halfway through that we're not going to. Looking at you, Avengers Doomsday. Like, that's the Hollywood way now, just like to absolutely just wing it. And like, I love that, like, they're going to have, and the VFX artists don't have to kill themselves to do the VFX. It'll actually look good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I remember when he was working on Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams talked about how having just a little bit of extra time was such a gift. And I wonder if that might be the same thing here, where they have a little bit more time to just get the small stuff right. Like you're talking about, Ben, in terms of making sure the VFX are up to the quality that we expect of Star Wars, but without overworking the crews. There's more time to work on the sound mix. There's more time to do 3D conversions. There's more time to do all of this stuff and make it really, really, really good, instead of rushing it and still having it be good, but not having it be the best there ever has been. Hell, they got time to do a 4DX experience. That's what I'm really looking forward to, is the 4DX shake you around in your seat experience. So it's pretty cool. I wonder, this movie is obviously, it's going to keep filming for at least another couple of months. When does the next one start shooting? When do we start shooting the 2028 movie? Or could it be next year? Could Taika
I mean,
get started? Could
that is the question.
Mangold get started?
We're on a roll here. We're on a roll.
Keep it going.
Here
Don't
with
stop.
these movies of like we got Mando Grogu. Don't pick up. Somebody pick up the baton and run with it, please.
Yeah. We went. Favreau came in there. He shot his movie, got it done. Levy came in there, shot his movie. It's gonna get done. Keep the momentum going. Don't stop. Don't wait for one of these movies to come out. The movies are going to come out regardless. If you need to adjust, you can adjust, but don't slam on the brakes unless Bob Iger walks onto your set on the first day, takes the script and goes, I changed my mind. I don't want to make this one. It's not nostalgic enough. Anyway, Levy also said,
I know one way, Bob Iger, before you leave, you could really improve your image. At least with the Star Wars fan base. And that's by greenlighting the Bun for Ben Solo. Just going to say that.
Hey.
You would win a lot of goodwill. I'm not saying you'd be even a good person at this point, but you'd have a feather in your cap to leave.
6,000 people, a group of 6,000 people has never been wrong about anything ever in the history of all time.
No.
Come on, Bob.
Heck no.
All right. Levy also said about the movie, he said, quote, it's different in that it's an all new non-sequel, non-prequel adventure. It's new characters. It's a new timeline. It inherits legacy themes, but it's really trying to give Star Wars fans and just movie audiences something fresh and something new. And with that spirit of play and big-hearted adventure with moments of real levity that, frankly, A New Hope had in a revolutionary way. So non-prequel, non-sequel. This is, I mean, to be fair to Sean Levy, this truly is the first Star Wars movie that is standalone. The closest comparable is not even a movie. It would be like Skeleton Crew.
Right. Because you just think about the movies and Solo was connected a established character, a prequel to that. Rogue One obviously very much connected to A New Hope. On The Mandalorian, Grogu, just a spin-off of a TV show, and you have even the shows, most of them are connected, and that's the name of the game in a cinematic universe, if you will, of connecting things and spinning things off of different things like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, whatever else. This is, I mean, obviously we haven't seen it yet. We know nothing about it, but it still seems like this is actually a true spin-off. I would even say, even if Daisy Ridley makes a cameo at the end as Rey Skywalker, this is still a very standalone movie. It's about seemingly completely new characters that we've never seen before in a new time period. Way more standalone than really anything else besides maybe, as you said, Skeleton Crew has. So that's exciting. It's that we've kind of they were talking about the whole standalone movie process, and here we are in 2027, finally going to get something along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Acolyte is kind of the other one. Excuse me. That's close in terms of being truly standalone, but that one feels so tied in with the Phantom Menace. It feels like, had that show gone on for a proper 2 or 3 seasons, we might have looked at it as a proper prequel. Whereas Skeleton Crew again is just kind of its own little adventure. Yes, it's set in the New Republic era. Yes, there's some loose ties to the larger Mando versus Ahsoka verse, whatever you want to call it. But it's pretty much its own thing. And I suspect this one will be the same, regardless of a Rey cameo or a Finn cameo, or how about a Poe Dameron cameo? How's this for a transition? Oscar Isaac was asked recently in an interview with GQ about if he would be open to returning to Star Wars. Now, this interview was conducted in the midst of the Jimmy Kimmel cancellation, suspension, pause, hiatus, whatever you want to call it, Disney cowering in the face of authoritarianism, scandal / controversy / saga. So this is how Oscar replies. He says, "I'd be open to it, although right now I'm not so open to working with Disney. But if they can kind of figure it out and, you know, not succumb to fascism, that would be great." There you go, Bob. There's another reason to not suck at your job. Oscar Isaac might actually consider working with you again if you actually, you know, do your job well. So
you hear that? Either no more Moon Knight, no more Poe Dameron. Okay, unless you get things straight.
Exactly.
But it's definitely the comments are very
Go ahead. We're dealing with a little bit of lag here, folks.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Like, I think obviously the comments are timely for that period of time, like right when things were kicking off, and we didn't know if they were going to bring Jimmy Kimmel back at that point. I'm not even someone who watched Jimmy Kimmel. Like, I would things, but like everyone with everyone that could see that what was going on there, there was a right and a wrong way to handle that, and they were handling it very wrong at that period of time. They fixed it, and it's kind of gone away, but I think everyone's still side-eyeing Disney at this point. So I think Oscar's opinion may have changed, his thoughts may have changed, but I think we're all kind of in the same boat of just like, Disney, you didn't pass the vibe check. And you need to straighten up, and you need to stay on the straight and narrow. And you had a test. They had a test and they failed it. They fixed it in the end, but we'll see how it goes in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a character to appear in a movie called Starfighter from the sequel trilogy, wouldn't it be the Starfighter pilot himself? That feels like that would make sense. So. Yeah, that alone might be a reason to get back into Oscar Isaac's good graces. But before we keep going, let's bring someone else onto the show. Welcome back, Hannah Raeside.
Hello. Oh, I made it after 40 minutes, of course. I'm here. But I was late for a good reason this week.
So how was Visions?
I caved. I did indeed watch Visions after kind of quite a few weeks of being like, I'm never watching this. But yes, I have completed the entire watch of Visions. Do you want me to go into what I thought straight away?
Yes. Give us in-depth thoughts on all 9 episodes. Take it away.
Oh, overall, it was a much better, more enjoyable experience than I thought. I enjoyed much more than I didn't enjoy, which is pretty good, because the past 2 I just have been so, I'll watched it, and was like, meh, don't care. But then this one, I actually really connected with most of the stories. My favorite 2, I'll just go through like my favorite and my least favorite. My favorite 2, which were kind of tied at about a 9 out of 10 for me, was The Ronin and The Ninth Jedi, which I pretty much is like, that's like everyone's saying that. I just realized I can see the cat in the background. That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, I should leave that there all the time. That's hilarious. Just very on edge. The Ronin and The Ninth Jedi, I think a lot of people have been saying that they've enjoyed those 2 and enjoy those characters and the story. So yeah, no, I think no surprise there that those were kind of my most enjoyed one. But then it's very funny because I've just watched it. I've just finished the final 2 episodes, and I don't know what you guys said about it last week. So I'm very fascinated to see if am I just on my own thing here? But the second last episode, for those who have watched it, and also Dom, just from memory, was the Bird of Paradise. Yeah. Which was that episode. I gave that a 4 out of 10. Ooh, and and then the final episode I have given a 1 out of 10. The 1 being for creative boldness, but every other aspect of it I detested. So it was like, lowest ranked thing ever.
The thing about that last short, Black, is you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. there's not going to
Yeah.
be an in between, and
Yeah.
I can't fault anyone for coming down on either side of that, because like I said, it's creatively
Yeah.
bold, it's really weird, and if
Mm.
you want something like that, if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, you're probably really going to like that. But if you're like, no, give me an actual freaking story, you're not gonna like it.
Yes.
I'm more
Yeah.
surprised about the Bird of Paradise. That's also a weird
Paradise,
episode.
So
It's a weird episode, but to me it's a redux of the Yoda arc from the Clone Wars. And it's just all contained within one story. And so I'm not like, look, everybody reacts to things differently. I'm not saying you're wrong to give it a 4. But that I'm not surprised that someone would give Black a 1. I'm a little bit surprised about Bird of Paradise.
You know what it was? It was the like the final 90 seconds of the episode I thought was really good. And like where she like comes to this like, you know, conclusion about her weakness, having to die to her weakness, and you know, then she's more powerful in the Force, blah blah blah. That's really great. That's really cliche and classic, like cliche in a good way for Star Wars storytelling. And I was like, the last 2 minutes of this was like spot on of a Star Wars story. Everything before that, like the psychedelic frog slaps her and she's like crying about drinking dirty water. Like that's the episode. That's what it is. So I was like, this is like
Dagobah.
Yeah,
Not
kind
wrong.
of, yeah,
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And I'm just like, what is this? And then I was like, I think they're trying to do that. And then the final, like I said, like the bit where she was like, oh, I've learned now. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what we're trying to do. But like, how did we get there? Wow.
Yeah.
So
it's a ride.
yeah. Yeah. So just recap, Ben. Those were my least favorite two. It was a 4 and a 1 out of 10 for those 2 episodes. And then Ronin and Ninth Jedi were my favorite ones, and I gave those both 9 out of 10s.
Makes sense. What was the most? Which one do you want to see turned into a show? Like Ninth Jedi is going to be turned into a show. Is there another one you think should be turned into a show?
Ronin already has its like, is it a book or a comic series?
It's a book,
Like,
both.
Yeah. Oh, boom! There you go. Right. So, like, I feel like I won't say that one because that's obvious as well. Because that's obviously such a that's such a great character. The other one I would definitely like to see as a show is, I believe it was Lost Ones. I think that's the one I'm thinking of, where it was like, wait, what was Lost Ones? Am I thinking of that was episode 6?
The Lost Ones is the Village Bride sequel.
Village Bride sequel. And that, they're on the ship, the refugee ship, and then she goes off to like finish like her master and go to the Empire. And yeah. Yes. I think that one could be a cool show. That had very much Resistance vibes to me. Star Wars Resistance. Being like this kind of community of refugees and like this hero like emerging from it in a sense, even though like we've obviously
you're right.
before. Yeah, so probably Lost Ones or Yuko's Treasure. That Yuko's Treasure was also really enjoyable. I think very.
I want to spin off about the teddy bear droid.
Teddy bear Billy. Oh, I love that his name was Billy, and then he turned into Darth Billy, and then he came back to being Billy. I just was like, this is great. So that one was really, really enjoyable. Even though it was a little more on the like kind of younger side, it was still I really enjoyed that one a lot.
Nice. So are you ready for the inevitable Volume 4? Are you on the hype train for Volume 4? And more importantly, are you ready to admit that live action Visions is a great idea?
Oh my God, no way. Never. That is never going to be a good idea. In terms of Visions Volume 4, I think I would be much, much less critical probably of it coming and being like, this is a fun little something to have in between months of nothing Star Wars. So it's all right. I would watch a season 4.
High praise. It's all right. Guess I'd watch it. All right. Let's
catch me back up. Where are we up to?
So what have we talked about? We've talked about Starfighter. We've talked about the Mandalorian and Grogu. I think the next thing to talk about is the end of Star Wars Insider.
Yes.
the magazine that has run since 1994. It is as old as me, quite literally. And actually, really, it's pretty much been running since 1978. They've just called it different things over the years. Is going to end early next year. I thought the headline on StarWars.com was really unintentionally funny because they had to like put a positive spin on it. And so it says Star Wars Insider to launch final issue in 2026. Like it sounds like you read that and it sounds like something big and new and exciting is about to happen.
Yeah.
Star Wars Insider to launch. And then it's like the ultimate like drop off a cliff final issue in 2026. Issue 237 will be the final issue of Star Wars Insider. Basically, nobody reads magazines anymore. That's the gist of it. Is not enough people are reading print magazines.
I feel very bad and sad and also really guilty because I am someone.
Your fault, man.
Who?
It's your fault.
Like,
damn it.
I am the reason. I am the reason that this is happening. Okay, let's just be honest with this. I am the reason. Maybe not the only reason, but one of the reasons I've contributed to this problem. Of just like I used to subscribe to Star Wars Insider. I used to go out and used to buy it. I used to love it. I have a huge stack of Insiders that I'm going to now cherish now forever. But I stopped doing it. I stopped buying them, and it sucks. But you know, and it's just because it's not obviously a lot of the stuff that is like, I think back in the day, back before I was like on the internet, it was a great way to kind of keep up with news because, there wasn't the internet and social media wasn't a big thing, once upon a time. Now, they can't really deal in much news because by the time they print it out, it's obviously way old news. But there were so many great pieces and so many great interviews, and I think great archive. I think it's sad that it won't continue, but I think now is the time to like go back and find those special issues because there's so much good stuff, so much good coverage all throughout this new era of Star Wars films and stuff. And then going back, and I think one of their final issues will be about the 10th anniversary of Rogue One. And so definitely going to pick that up. And so yeah, really, it sucks. I know magazines, they're just going the way of the dodo. It sucks, but yeah, it doesn't sting any less.
Yeah, I mean, I let my subscription like die, let it end many years ago now, pre-COVID, because it reached the point where there was a pile of magazines to read, and I had not read any of it. Because so much of, just the way we consume media has changed. There's so much good Star Wars content out there on the internet that you can find immediately, like if you're thinking about like what is sort of relevant to what you're thinking about with Star Wars, you're like, oh, I want to read this review of the Mandalorian episode, where you're not going to get a Mandalorian review in Insider at all, because they're not going to review the show. They're not going to be able to review it objectively. But they're not going to have real Mandalorian coverage until months later. And by that point, you might still be interested in it. The coverage might still be good, but it's not where your mind is at. So I let mine end a long time ago, and would sort of occasionally pick up an issue here and there if there was like a really like special feature. But yeah, it's just the reality of the way our media habits have changed. But I like their coverage of Clone Wars back in the day was excellent. There was really, really great interviews with Filoni and others like him. And yeah, so it's a shame to lose this sort of outlet for getting actual insight into the making of stuff, as well as some officially sanctioned analysis of the movies and shows that exist. Hannah, you're younger than us. I feel like Ben, you and I, we caught the like tail end of the like where like magazines were still a thing, like a real thing. Do you have thought? Did you read Insider at all? Was it something that was on your radar at any point in your fan journey? And what are your thoughts on it coming to an end?
I thought, just back to your opening statement on this of, sort of the way they announced it was quite, I think they worded that quite interestingly, to launch the end of the magazine.
Because that's how endings usually go, with a launch.
We launched the end.
Launch
Thank you.
is kind of, launch is actually kind of like, and ending are their antonyms. They mean the opposite things.
Yeah, literally. Which doubly got me because I saw it and went, oh, Star Wars is coming out with a magazine. How interesting. I've never heard of such. This is so odd in this day and age.
Oh God!
Yeah, making it a Star Wars Insider. Oh, wow, that sounds cool. Oh, it's ending. Oh, it's been going on for like 20, 30 years. Oh, okay. Well, I've clearly missed that boat. So to my discovery, there has been something called Star Wars Insider happening for the past few decades, and sad to never know about it while it was happening, and I've known about it while it's ending. So
you get to read you get to read the last 3 issues. That can be your whole experience.
Yeah, and I was like, where do you get one of these? Like, how would I buy one? Like, what? Anyway, so
there's these things. Yeah. There are buildings where you can go in and buy and purchase items. It's like Amazon, but a place.
Yeah, but like, even if it was is it any newsagent? Like, if I just went to my local newsagent, would they have one? Do you call them newsagents there? Is that what you call them?
I know what you mean. It's not what we call them, but you know what you mean. They probably would, or you go to like a bookstore or something like that.
So maybe, yeah. I would want to hunt one down now because I've
I've
seen this in the flesh.
Yeah. Like occasionally you'll see them in like a grocery store here in America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
So where I would see them most frequently recently was in Walmarts. So yeah, that's where you can buy them. Well, anyways, like it is. There was a lot of good Star Wars coverage over the years in Insider, and so it is a shame to see it ending. And my sort of hope for this is that a lot of the stuff they were doing gets moved online, gets moved to StarWars.com, but that seems unlikely. Companies like Disney and Lucasfilm, they aren't really investing in their online coverage in a way that would merit keeping this sort of thing going. Again, if we go back 10 years, I think there was a real genuine attempt to turn StarWars.com into something that was more like a digital, constantly running, constantly updating Star Wars Insider. And there's still some of that if you look at StarWars.com, but it's a lot more press releases. It's a lot more, here's this announcement, here's that announcement, here's when this show comes out, here's when that show comes out, here's a little spotlight on some fans. It's not the same as what you would find in Insider or even what you would find on the site 10 years ago. And so they just don't seem to be investing in that side of things. We've seen that with the end of things like the Star Wars show and like is this week in Star Wars still a thing?
Right.
Again, this is why these things end, is because nobody actually watches them because they're.
I don't think so.
But like, the thought, the hope of like this sort of coverage being done officially is kind of ending. Then you don't see behind the scenes features in the way that you used to. There aren't the DVD extras. There isn't Disney Gallery anymore. It's just you get really sort of bland 2-minute stuff, and that sort of leaves it up to fans to do interesting, exciting coverage on their own outlets, which often, and I'm not just saying that because we're doing a podcast here, but oftentimes that's more interesting than the official stuff because you're not hamstrung by having to toe the company line. You can actually, people who, again, this just sounds like I'm trying to blow my own horn. I'm not talking about my own stuff, but like people doing Star Wars podcasts, writing Star Wars Substacks, doing Star Wars TikTok accounts and like that sort of thing, can do more interesting stuff that is critical while still celebrating the movies and the shows in a way that Insider never could, in a way that StarWars.com never could. And so in a sense, we shouldn't look to Lucasfilm for that kind of stuff. And I think it's unreasonable to expect it from them. And that's part of the reason why something like Insider is ending, is because people have realized there's there's as good, if not better, stuff that's being updated more frequently out there, and that's why people don't buy magazines anymore. It's not specifically an Insider thing. It's a wider cultural trend away from print magazines.
Yeah, it kind of goes into.
But it all the same.
Oh,
go ahead.
Ben's going. Oh, I think you're delayed by
go ahead.
10 seconds. Ben.
He is.
Oh, is he?
It's been brutal.
Amazing. Okay, I'll just keep talking and then I'll say end, Ben, and then you can go. Okay, so what I was gonna say, the thing of the Star Wars YouTube channel and how they used to have the High Republic show. With Christina Ariel, and this YouTube coverage was like so on it. And they used to do live shows and post videos and weekly roundups, and it was like very sort of not grassroots, but in a sense that because it was on a platform and it presented in a way that was so accessible, like on YouTube, it was so like you were able to really feel completely aware of what is up with Star Wars and what they're doing. And I think this is where sort of the and I think this has been brought to light so recently in the Hump for Ben Solo thing, this sort of conversation of, Lucasfilm have an idea of what Star Wars wants to be and what they want to tell and do, and Disney has a different idea of what they want to tell and do with Star Wars. I think that's coming to light for fans on either side of the spectrum. And it's just I mentioned the YouTube channel, like that not happening anymore. The magazines and these sort of other outlets of like kind of promoting Star Wars media shutting down. It's just continually going in this very corporate sense. Not to be that person to be like, Disney Corporation, but it's just so commoditized and just become this untouchable. You can't really engage on a personal level with sort of that behind the scenes and engaging aspect that I think Star Wars always brought, that I think George was very engaged with and very aware of the success of Star Wars. Is it will live forever because the fans will live forever for it. And but you need to fuel that. It's not just about having a movie in the theaters every 2 years. It's about fueling the passion of being engaged with something in so many ways. What we know with magazines, books, toys, YouTube videos from the official source. So I totally agree with you. Obviously there's such a massive market of the podcasts, the live shows, the content creators, the all sorts covering Star Wars that people really lean on now for, hey, I want to know what's happening with Star Wars. And then you go to your favorite creator, favorite podcast, favorite, news outlet to see what they're saying about Star Wars. You're not going to the source because you're going that, that's just Disney is saying, but then also they're canceling all the ways that it was much more attainable to get information from them. So yeah, it's I'm clearly I'm still sour that they've stopped the weekly Star Wars show on the YouTube channel, but just kind of keeping that in the same conversation of like, they're just like cutting off all the good media of it.
Yeah, because Insider served that role for a long time. I think in the 90s and the early 2000s of being the vessel through which Lucasfilm spoke to fans. And a guy who was at the front of that was Steve Sansweet, right? And he would be featured as Insider, and then he would go to the conventions and he would kind of do that stuff. And then he stepped away, and he did leave. I think he left a void there, and it took a few years for them to try to do something else. And we would start to see it on the YouTube channel with Rebels Recon. Even before that, they were doing some like top 10 lists and stuff and things like that. They were trying to like create this like fan facing, people who could represent the brand that weren't necessarily Dave Filoni or Kathleen Kennedy. And that led to the Star Wars show. The problem, of course, with the Star Wars show was that it was awful and wasn't good. If they had made a good show, maybe it would be different. Sorry, but The best part was the interviews, and those were a third of the episode at best. But like there was that like attempt to do that, and I think like you said, Hannah, probably the bean counters, the corporate overlords, Disney, they looked at this and went, well, that's not really making us any money. We're not seeing a direct impact on the bottom line. We're not seeing how this is necessarily leading to more sales of books, toys, action figures, movie tickets, Disney Plus subscriptions, all that, and took the funding away. And that's why we saw these things all start to go away. And now we're left with nothing at all. Like, Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy are the face of Lucasfilm, and they speak once a year if we're lucky. They'll address people at Star Wars Celebration, and there's not going to be a celebration next year. They'll address people at the premiere of something. So maybe we'll hear from them twice next year at Mando, Grogu, and Ahsoka premieres. That's probably it. We'll hear from them twice the following year at the Starfighter premiere and at Celebration. And so it lacks the human face. It lacks the human connection. And I didn't care for the Star Wars show, but lots of people did, and there was a fan base around that loved to interact with the people that made that show, and that does foster community. And this is a thing that Disney doesn't seem to be interested in, which is thinking about the long term. They just want the short term. They want to be able to show up at the next quarterly earnings call and say we made X billions of dollars more. So the easiest way to do that is to cut things. But if you actually want to make more money long term, I think you're better off investing in creating this fan community that will show up repeatedly, because you're giving them stuff that they want to show up for, and you're giving them new things to be excited about. You're not just hitting the same nostalgia button over and over again, which has been it's something I've been hammering ever since this whole Ben Solo thing came to light, because that was an opportunity to build on the new fan base instead of just going, hey, it's the droid Uncle Owen didn't buy. He's a rebel spy too. Can you believe it? I love R5D4. I love the Mandalorian, but come on.
It's classic,
you could have, and you could have done both. That's the thing. You could have done both. You could have had it both ways. And so we're losing this sort of official connection between the fan community and the fan and the actual brand. And that, I don't think that's a good thing in the long term. The Star Wars coverage that is out there, yes, I do think it's better, but not having that face, not having somebody, Sansweet would go around and he would do interviews with, fan sites and podcasts and all this stuff. And he could speak for the brand. And I think you want someone like that. And I think, Anthony Carboni and Andy Gutierrez and the people, and Kristen Baver and Christian Ariel, and like people like that who were the faces of these shows. That's what they should have been doing, is giving them some talking points, letting them go on a show like this, and talking and just hyping up Star Wars, pumping the tires of Star Wars to the most passionate fans, so that we go from being at an 8 to an 11, and in terms of excitement for things that are coming down the line. And instead, they're just killing all of those places where you could potentially do that, be it the Star Wars show, which again was not my cup of tea, Star Wars Insider, which was more my cup of tea, but less so these days, and other platforms like that. Why isn't there somebody, you go on Star Wars on Instagram, on TikTok, on whatever, it's a lot of compilations, which is great. Friggin' love a compilation, but why isn't there somebody just there hyping up everything every week or every other week?
Yeah, because that's my big thing of the socials as well. It's just like, because obviously that's like the world, right? That's the world of communication these days, is just through social media. So it's like, okay, if you're not going to do official behind the scenes DVDs, you're not doing, well, they do for some of the shows. If you're not doing it on Disney Plus, the Disney Gallery, like at least, like, you know, Ahsoka comes out, spend weeks, months afterwards going, BTS of this thing, this is this interview, this is what, you know, how Eman, you know, explained his character, this is what does Peridia mean? Like that is what builds the such deep-rooted connection to the fandom for it to keep going daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, to just not stop being so passionate about what's happening, because it's like, because we're learning so much. And I it's so funny because it's like I kind of watched it after the fact, but all the like I think of Rebels, that was so successful, in the sense of Rebels Recon, like it was like, you know, threading that throughout the week of the episodes coming out. It's like it keeps you locked in, being like, oh, if you had a question about something, it was kind of half answered. It would probably be answered in the Rebels Recon, and then
or you could ask it, and they might actually answer it.
Exactly, yeah, and like how engaging. Where so we have a show, and we're like, who the hell is Jod? Did he have a master? Was that real? And it's like that is never like talked about or addressed, and we have no way to discuss anything about any of these stories. It's just this, we have to rely on the rumor mill of Twitter to like kind of find out more about what happened behind the scenes. It's crazy. It's insane.
Where's the Mandalorian dispatch or the Skeleton Crew dispatch? Like 10 minutes after each episode, just a 10-minute YouTube video, little interview with the cast and crew, little interview with the creators, little behind the scenes thing, answer a fan question, show a teaser for next week. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
So easy. My God. Yeah. Anyway. Ben, you're like 10 seconds delayed, Ben. What have you got to say about this? We'll be quiet for 10 seconds.
Right now he's frozen while he adjusts his glasses.
Oh, my only thought here is just like, am I coming through it all? I'm just kidding. My only thought here is just like, stop. You're throwing me off. Because I have thoughts. Okay, just so hear me out.
Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Like, yes, it is a tragedy of just like, because I feel like
Star Wars rules. This is momentous. This is exciting. Why, hello there, Ben.
Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
He is the founder of the Star Wars Underworld, Mr. Ben Hart.
How's it going, everybody?
Unbelievably good timing. What amazing timing. Okay, Ben, we're gonna shut up for another 10 seconds. Here you go.
All right. My only thought here that like such online content, and I know this because like we
Hannah, are you getting any of this?
Do this stuff.
I think I've gotten 3 words so far.
Same.
Someone is away like online stuff. It's just
Ben, restart. Restart your
it is throwaway. So ultimately,
ultimately what? What does he say?
I don't think it's going to help. I don't think it's going to help at this point.
He said ultimately so many times, and we never get to hear what he's ultimately saying. Oh, he's blinking.
Star Wars Insider's ending sucks. That's my thought.
Okay,
good. That's good. We got it.
Nailed it.
We got it. Yeah.
We got there.
Yeah.
We got there in the end.
Awesome. All right.
All right. There we go. What else we got?
Brutal.
What else we got? Okay. Disney parks. Let's talk about Disney parks.
Disney parks? What's happening now?
Tell there's nothing going on. They're celebrating Life Day at the Disney parks. Chewbacca's going to wear a red robe and carry a blue orb. My question is this about this is, have they killed this joke?
They really love it. Like they really are about this. Like, you know, let's just sarcastically joke about this being great, and they've really committed now. Now I'm like, no. They think this is good. They think this is like the holiday special is great, and Life Day is like a thing.
there's like a viral comic that goes around every now and again of like it's like the life cycle of a trend, and it's somebody like holding a pineapple on their head and people are taking a picture of it, and people are just doing it and enjoying it. And then then brands start doing it, and soon it's only brands doing the trend and people are actually kind of done with it. And I'm starting to reach that point with the holiday special. Because it was for a long time, it was like a funny fan thing.
Yeah.
And now it's just, okay, every year at Disneyland, they roll out the Life Day orbs and stuff.
Yeah.
And okay, sure, it's fun. Here's what I want. If we're going to keep this shit going for another year, release the holiday special. Put the whole holiday special.
That is so true.
Put it on Disney Plus. Put it on Disney Plus. I friggin' dare you. Next year is no, not next year. 3 years from now is the 40th or 50th anniversary. But just put it out there and then say this is what we're celebrating. And you know what? Yeah. Maybe people will appreciate your level of irony. Maybe people will enjoy that. Or maybe people will go, wait, what the heck? That's what we're celebrating? That's what this is? So I don't know. I think this has run its course, and I think after this year they need to let it be for a few years or release the holiday special. Those are the two options.
They could really shift gears and completely lean into the Ewok movies at this point. I think. I think they should let Life Day go, and then lean into the fact that the Ewok movies happened and they were crazy. They were pretty insane. Granted, I've only seen the first one, but it's crazy.
And a few years after that, I want a celebration of droids, the cartoon, at Disney World.
Yes. I
want a full.
That's what we want. That's
celebration
what needs
of
to happen.
that. I think that's what needs to happen. But I don't know. Don't get me wrong. When they first started doing this holiday special stuff, I was right there in it. I bought a Life Day orb a few years ago when I was there right around Christmas time. But now I'm you can only play this card so many times before you start to get sick of it, and I'm kind of sick of it. So I now think either release the whole thing and embrace it fully, or move on. Honestly, at this point, I'd rather you just put an actual Santa hat on Chewie and have him walk around that way. I'm kind of that's kind of where I'm at. Ben, we're gonna try this again. Ultimately, what do you think of the Life Day celebrations at Disney World?
I love it. I love that they're finally doing this.
Finally, is this for 5 years?
No, what my reaction to this? My reaction to this is, I was literally at Disney World in Orlando. I'm there with my family, and I go into a gift shop in the studios, one of the ones on the as you're going in. It's not even in the Star Wars section, and I see a cup. I wish I had it actually with me. I could show it off. It's because I bought it, obviously. It's a red coffee cup with this Chewie, with the orb and the red Snuggie. And I tell you, I almost lost it. I had a mental breakdown in the middle of Disney. And my parents are like, what is wrong with you? Why are you acting this way? And I'm like, I can't even explain why this is so confusing, dumbfounding, stupid. It's so the fact that they have hid this thing for so long, yet they are making products and they are doing all this stuff, referencing something that you literally can't watch without pirating it. It's just, it's insanity, and I love it so much.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think, Ben, you still believe in goodness in the universe, and I think that's good.
You still believe in Life Day?
I'm an optimist.
Yeah.
I'm an optimist. Sometimes.
Appreciate that. All right. Life Day, it's being celebrated. What is this? It's coming to Disneyland and Disney World during Jollywood Nights, whatever that means. So if you're a big Disney parks person,
Jollywood
I'm
Night.
sure you will enjoy that. I have no doubt.
Isn't that the character from Skeleton Crew? Jolly
Jod Jollywood.
Jod Narwood. Come on, that's pretty close to Jod Narwood.
Wood.
Hollywoods.
And Holly.
All right, let's answer some listener questions. I feel like we've gone on long enough, and we've taken a turn for the pessimistic. So maybe we can redeem ourselves with some listener questions. We'll start with super chats. Joel left us several super chats. He says, I took Weaver's quote as more of a sign that maybe Lucasfilm near to mid-tier future-y is one-off standalone series than ongoing sagas and series. Okay, basically saying that the quote that Sigourney Weaver said about Star Wars movies that we talked about earlier, just for a reminder, it's been a long time in the show and forgotten it. What did she say? She said, I've lost it in the notes and I'll never find it again. Doesn't matter.
Nice. Awesome.
Basically that they're not trying to do the Star Wars to end all Star Wars. They're just trying to tell interesting stories. And I think what Joel's responding to here is that the movies might seem smaller scale. They're not going to be long ongoing sagas, but rather one-off movies, or a movie and a sequel, rather than a big trilogy in the style of the sequel trilogy or the Skywalker saga, which I think is a correct read on what she said, just looking at what has been announced with Mando Grogu, with Starfighter, with the Mangold movie, and the Charmin Obey-Chinoy movie, and the Taika movie, and all that stuff.
Can we ban the Taika movie, or the phrase the Taika movie? Can we ban that? That is, I don't want ever that to happen, and I don't ever want to think it might happen.
You don't want the Taika Waititi movie?
Oh God, no! I'm like aggressively against it. Like
okay,
actively, violently against it.
What do you want less, the Taika Waititi movie or the Dawn of the Jedi movie?
What is with me all of a sudden? I don't know. I'm an angsty teenager again. A Visions live action, did you say, or Taika Waititi movie?
No, yes, that's a better question than what I asked.
I would easily take Visions live action over a Taika Waititi.
All right, good.
Movie.
Okay,
yeah, like that's how much I'm like.
Why do you hate Taika?
But it's funny because I like his movies. I really like his movies.
Yeah.
What I've seen of his is great. Absolutely not for Star Wars. It would be like the last episode of Visions Volume 3. It would be like that in Star Wars for me. I'm like, these are just like should not mix. This is oil and water. Like, oh my gosh, no. But
okay.
Anyway, that's a whole other discussion.
All right. Fair enough. Jewel also responding to something we were talking about earlier, says the Mandoverse has always been called the New Republic era. Mandoverse was a fan name. Okay, fine. If you want to be pedantic about it, I'm still going to call it the Mandoverse.
Okay, I like how Jeff remembers what movies I hate. I'll tell you, I dislike Mangold. But I hate Taika's movie. I would say that.
Man, okay. Is there a movie that you do like?
The Hunt for Ben Solo would have been great.
Yeah, well.
No, I'm pretty optimistic on both Mando and Starfighter. Both of them, I'm like, yeah, they should be cool.
All right. Another one from Joel says everything about Ahsoka season 2 seems like the Infinity War to the New Republic era / Mandoverse endgame, with the movie being a season 3 finale. Yeah, that sounds about right. We'll lead right into the movie, and Dave can go right from making season 2 of Ahsoka into making Heir to the Empire. It'll be great. Mm-hmm. And finally from Joel, says prediction, all caps. The next Star Wars movie will be announced after, all caps, Mando and Grogu. That way they can spin it as Star Wars is back and going, or ignore that bomb and enjoy a new movie in 2028.
Oh God.
It's either a celebration or a distraction. Honestly, he's probably right. Although, judging on how they've done things recently, I expect if Mando Grogu to bomb, they'll cancel everything and throw it all out and start all over again, because they cannot handle even the slightest bit of failure. Okay, there's some super chat questions. Let's get to the Discord questions. Maybe we'll be happier with these. No, thank you, Joel, for the questions and the super chats. Always much appreciated. From the Discord, Dr. Hugh 17 says, a Halloween double bill. Don't mind if I do. This is from a few weeks ago, obviously. One, are there any Star Wars moments that still scare you or intimidate you to this day? A few moments that have come to mind include the Wampa attack in The Empire Strikes Back and Rey's nightmare vision from The Force Awakens. On the video game side, Jedi Academy's Sand Burrowers and the mutated Rancor still stick with me to this day. And two, what do you consider to be the spookiest location in Star Wars? Dagobah and Dathomir tend to stick out, but I could also imagine the more psychedelic worlds such as Umbara or Felucia being just as unnerving at night. Boz Pity would be my honorable mention, particularly because of its reputation as a graveyard world. All right, what moments in Star Wars scare you or intimidate you?
The Wampa one is actually really good.
Literally
That
any
is
scene
that
in
is a great
Andor.
jump scare.
Wampa is a jump scare, and Ben says any scene in Andor. Yeah, but that's more of like a that's more just like a sadness for the world.
Sadness for the world.
Sadness and a fear that is too real.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The Geonosians creeped me out as a kid, so I kind of, they're kind of creepy bug creatures. So go with that.
The zombie brain worms from Clone Wars was always super scary to me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's always the really good. We talk about the Wampa and Empire, but there's a really good jump scare of the Mynock when Leia is in the Empire in the Falcon cockpit. Yeah. IG Kevin in the chat says Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's death. It's pretty. That is pretty graphic. It's pretty graphic. Jeff says the nightmare scene from The Force Awakens when Rey touches the lightsaber for the first time scares me every time. There is that does have a real jump scare, like as the transition from Maz's castle into the Force back is really like startling as it happens. Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good answers. And what's the spookiest location in Star Wars?
It's got to be Dathomir, right? Like Dathomir is pretty dark. Like, I don't know. Dathomir's got to be the creepiest.
Yeah, I go Geonosian catacombs. It's pretty creepy. Again,
dark. Yeah.
Bugs.
Get lost in the catacombs. I'd feel claustrophobic down there.
Yeah, exactly. Ben? Ben's spookiest thing is his internet not working.
Yeah, that is terrifying. I don't know. Dagobah's pretty creepy. I think we've kind of gotten used to it over the years, but swamps. Like I've been in enough swamps to know they're pretty creepy.
It's true. Joel points out the Mando spiders as being kind of creepy. That's true. And IG Kevin says Vader entering the chat on Leia's ship. I'm assuming that's in Rogue One. The Vader hallway scene in Rogue One. If you think about it, it's pretty scary. Pretty scary. All right. Let's see what else. Good questions, Dr. Hugh. This one comes from Vlad Sanders. Says, I know this has been discussed how much of an influence the courtship of Princess Leia has been on the most recent additions to the shows and to the lore. But beyond Heir to the Empire and Courtship, what other EU books would you like to see them pull ideas from? Honestly, I wouldn't mind a few concepts from the Jedi Search trilogy or the Truce at Bakura.
That's so funny that you mentioned Truce. Like, I've read like 3 EU books: Plagueis, Truce at Bakura, and I'm about to finish Courtship of Princess Leia. So my only knowledge would be from those books. Something from Plagueis. I feel like Acolyte tried the Plagueis thing, but obviously didn't pull anything from. We just saw him for like 4.5 seconds. But yeah, there's probably something. If they did some sort of a true Acolyte show of like a young Palpatine, like definitely could take some stuff of the book there. I think would be cool.
I'd like to see the Darth Bane trilogy, especially the first one. First one was really, really, really good. Really, really good. So I'd like to see that. Then pull from that. I think that trilogy is excellent. Ben?
I'm gonna agree with you about Darth Bane, especially since like that I read those for the first time just a few years ago, and the fact that they are so far in the past, you can kind of consider them headcanon, but then also they kind of like they feel like they kind of work their way into the movies in a way, because like I've always like connected the idea that Darth Bane and Darth Xana are like trying to transfer their essence so they can stay alive forever, basically. They just like keep going down the line things, and then that connects directly to like Palpatine wanting to essence transfer into Rey's body, and just like, okay, I see. There's something there. There's when he says I'm all the Sith, maybe he really is all. Maybe he is all the Sith. Maybe he is.
This is true, and there was the way the third book ends. There were some people that thought that's essentially what happened. Although Drew Karpyshyn, the author, then came out and said, "No, that's not what I meant. It's not what I meant. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to cause confusion." All right, good questions. Yeah, good questions. So a couple of answers there. And let's do this last one here from Gilster10, who writes, as a longtime fan of the Force Unleashed video game series, I've always wondered, will we ever see Darth Vader take an apprentice in canon? I know there were early plans to introduce Starkiller into Rebels as a depowered Inquisitor, but it doesn't necessarily have to be him. It would still be fascinating to see Vader attempt to bend or work around the rule of two. In the current canon, Vader is often portrayed as a solitary figure, frequently enduring Palpatine's wrath when he fails. Yet we've seen his immense power in the Jedi video game series, and he's arguably wiser and more experienced than his Legends counterpart. By Return of the Jedi, he's openly trying to recruit Luke as his apprentice to help overthrow the Emperor. Given that he once trained Ahsoka, it would be compelling to explore how Vader might shape a dark side apprentice, perhaps in a way similar to how Dooku trained Savage in the Clone Wars, or how Maul may have mentioned a Twi'lek apprentice, Darth Talon, or may have mentored a Twi'lek apprentice, Darth Talon, ? In Shadowhunter. Yeah, that trailer implies some things. A Vader having an apprentice in canon. What do we think of that idea?
Ben?
I mean, it's an interesting idea, obviously. Being that you had Starkiller, and I really did like Starkiller's story. I really did. I enjoyed those games for what they were. I don't think they necessarily fit within canon per se, but especially not now. But like, the idea of like Sith working against each other. Dooku had Ventress. These Sith would kind of have their own assassin, which is just kind of code for secret apprentice. I think that's really interesting, and having all the idea of like, would he? And I think Filoni talked about how trying to work Starkiller into the scenario as an Inquisitor. And obviously, like the closest thing we have to that is like the Grand Inquisitor. We have the Inquisitor program in things which is like lower level people that are trained by Vader. I guess that's kind of the stand-in for that. But like having an actual someone apprentice that Vader would have, before he thought of Luke, someone he would have wanted to train up and potentially take over and take out Palpatine and rule the galaxy. That's an interesting concept that I would be interested to see them play with at some point.
Yeah, I think it's such a great concept, and obviously Force Unleashed is such a great story, fantastic story. I think in the current era of Star Wars, though, I think it would be a little hard to jump back to something so, Vader's such an untouchable character at this point, because it's like we've told such great stories. I think the books and comics and, Master of Evil, shout out Adam Christopher for that just coming out. I think that's, they've taken a lot of great care to create, even just a book about Vader. But so I think it's really hard if they made like a Vader show. That's going to be so hard to live up to, so hard to get right. So I don't think I do want to see Vader having an apprentice. In saying that, I would love if, I literally just completely contradicts exactly what I just said, but I would love a Starkiller show. I think Sam Witwer, he's still in his prime. He could absolutely just put on that suit and be Starkiller. He would look great in it and be great in it. And I would love if that was like a limited, like six episodes limited series of like each episode was like an hour long of sort of essentially the Starkiller story of what you get in the video games, but just in like 6 hours of a limited series. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree that like I love the Starkiller story. I think video games were a lot of fun. I think you could do that and remove the Vader of it and just have him be like an Inquisitor that starts questioning things the same way we kind of see with Barriss in the Tales of the Empire episodes. Because my read on Vader until he finds Luke is that this is somebody who is essentially broken, that he will never until he finds Luke, he has no aspirations to overthrow the Emperor because he doesn't believe that he could. Palpatine has so thoroughly broken him post Revenge of the Sith that he's threatening, he's scary, he's intimidating to everybody else, but really he's just Palpatine's lapdog. And so there's nothing that he can really do, or he does, because he doesn't believe in himself. He doesn't believe that he could actually overthrow the Emperor because he lost everything on Mustafar. And so he just sort of goes through life as the Emperor's attack dog until he finds Luke and he thinks, oh, maybe there's something here. Maybe this tie to my old life could help me escape this prison that I find myself in. And he's so down the dark path at that point that the only way he can think of getting out is to turn Luke to the dark side, have them work together, do the classic overthrowing the master thing of the rule of two. But what he doesn't realize is that the actual way out of the prison is what Luke offers him, which is redemption and salvation. And so in that sense, I don't think a Vader apprentice storyline ever made sense in that regard. But the way they told it was very, very good in the Force Unleashed. So if they can find ways to bring back the Starkiller character as an Inquisitor or some other sort of Emperor's hand or something, and do that story, bring in Juno Eclipse, bring in Rom Coda, bring in all of those characters from the games, then I think that would be really fun and really exciting. So that's my feel on it. All right. Good questions, folks. We've got more, but we will save them for another week, and we will begin right now to wrap things up.
Let's do it.
For this week, thank you everybody for listening. We will be back in 7 days' time to talk about whatever else is going on in Star Wars news. What other beloved institutions of the past have they canceled? What other movies that sounded really, really good aren't going to happen? All that stuff. All that fun stuff that we talked about this week. Hannah, thank you for making time for us and dropping in after you completed your Visions watch. If people want to go back and get a more thorough Visions review from you, what's the way they can do that? Where can they find that?
Yeah, you can check me out at the Raeside, all of it, Instagram. I'm sort of back on Twitter now, and of course on YouTube. Just kind of going through the motions of some cool content at the moment. Going to be doing some book reviews coming up because, again, we're in this big black hole period of Star Wars content. So always having a good time over there if you want more of that.
Check it out. That's the Raeside, spelled R-A-E side. Ben, I'd say thank you. I'd ask you to give a final thought, but I'm afraid your internet's going to crap out again. So let's give it one last try. Thank you for hosting. Thank you for powering through the communication disruption that can mean only one thing: invasion.
Yep. Thank you so much for dealing with my crappy internet, and thanks everyone for listening. And I can report the petition has grown so much since we last spoke. Since the last report, I'm gonna give you the next one. It's up to 6,005.
Well, At 5, the names are Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, Adam Driver, Steven Soderbergh, and I don't know, Dave Filoni. No, hey, keep signing the petition. You never know. As we talked about off the top, there's always a possibility, as a certain someone once said, never tell me the odds. I will also quickly plug, now that the World Series is over and I've stopped crying about it, I've started writing on my Substack again, dominicgjones.substack.com, aka Hot Off the Press. First new post went up on Tuesday. It was 5,700 words long, 3,000 of which were about the hunt for Ben Solo, so we're still talking about it. I got a new Rebels post coming up that will be available tomorrow or today, depending on when you listen to this. It'll be up on Friday. It is pretty much done, just needs a final polish. So check that out, dominicgjones.substack.com. G like Grogu. I'm not going to say Greedo this time. G like Grogu. All right. As always, want to remind you, make sure you subscribe to the show. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, however you like to listen. Leave a review if you're able to, and become a channel member if you want to, put something in the tip jar and encourage the show to keep going. Join the Discord for more discussion throughout the week. There's game nights, movie nights, all sorts of fun things happening over there. And follow us on social media at the SWU, and check out the rest of the programming on the Star Wars Underworld Network, like the Raeside and the Star Wars Visions reviews that Hannah did, Ion Cannon, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, and the Tractor Beam. Always good stuff going on over there. All right, that is it. That is it for this week. We'll be back in 7 days' time. For Ben, for Hannah, for Chris, who isn't here, my name is Dominic, and may the Force be with you. It's a wrap.